Chasin The Racin, powered by Colchester Kawasaki. Part of the Global Moto Group, we supply new Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, Royal Enfield, Kawasaki, Sim, Mutt and Benelli motorcycles.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasin The Racin, episode 164, and we're delighted to be joined by Rocket Ron Haslam. How's it going?
Yeah, really good. It's nice to have a summer's day at the farm. So yeah.
It's actually nice for you to be home. We've just overheard your busy schedule between you and your son there. It's like, it must be nice to be home for a change instead of running around the place.
It is. I know Leon's been around the world all the time, so I've been going with him everywhere. So yeah, it's great. At home, it's one of the kids' birthday as well, so we've got a bit of a party happening on the lawn. So yeah, it's fantastic.
We've either done you a favour or a hindrance. We've either taken you away and done you a good thing, or we're going to get you in trouble later on. So apologies for that. So it's good to have you. It's really good to have you.
It's really nice how you've sort of stayed close as a family, and you all kind of live together and work together in different ways. And it's like a nice... do you know how a lot of families they get to 17, 18 and all spread around the world and stuff? It's nice that you've got like a proper family hub.
Yeah, it is. As I say, we can't get rid of them, basically. Yeah.
Not by choice.
Yeah. No, they all ran the arse, stone's throw away, converted all the barns into arses, all that. So yeah, we're all happy together, really. So, and obviously we've got kids, so it's fantastic.
And we've just enjoyed a good tour around the museum, which is unbelievably impressive, and some like great memories for you and the family and the history and stuff. And also got introduced to a few of your pets. And was it a big pet tortoise?
Yeah, obviously because it is a farm. I would say the museum though is my wife's idea, Anne. She did all that. That was just all piled up in a heap. From over the years, you just keep chucking leathers down, and she decided to do that. So, credit where it's due there. She did all that. But the pets and all that, yeah, they just keep turning up.
One of the things I like most was seeing how knee sliders have evolved over the years. Because looking at there's a set from the TT. Above the leathers is the picture of you jumping and with the chain coming off, and the set of the knee sliders then were just like duct tape, big chunks of like acrylic, basically.
Oh, acrylic, leather, anything that would go. Because I mean, them days I suppose you didn't look the smartest because it was anything that worked. So tend a big piece of leather, duct tape because the Velcro got wore away because you tried to go too far with the knee sliders, took the Velcro off. So it wasn't like we sort of kept putting new leathers in and all that. Like these days, they've got like 3-4 sets of leathers. If you've seen up there, my first set, it's got that many times been to cobblers. It's got all different colour shapes and pastures on them everywhere. And that's where it wore them. That's how it wore.
Here's a question. When did that style come into play? The knee down style. Because obviously someone at some point started going, I'm going to pop something on my knees, and you could see that through your leathers. So when did that come into play, do you think?
That come in early on my side when I started, and it come from America.
Right.
Your Kenny Roberts and your Steve Bakers and all, so, the early versions of all them.
So pre that, nobody used to put anything on the ground?
No, they used to just sit upright, more of Mike Elwood, the Mike Elwood style, because obviously I had the pleasure of actually, following around the Isle of Man when he had, he had his comeback, on the Ducati, and I had the real pleasure of actually, I was on the Wakes Honda at the time, and he'd on this Ducati that wasn't very quick, and every time we just straight, I'd pass him, because we were on the road together. As soon as then I didn't know where I was, he'd come back past me again. And it was just fantastic to see. And to see that style, what you're on about, he just never moved. Him and the bike was a perfectly upright, position. Didn't put his knee out, didn't hang off, didn't do anything. But Christ, he was quick.
He used to burn his, go through to his toes. There's famous photos of him actually melting through his boots. He used to use more of his toes as a gauge on that element side of things, wasn't it? Is that right?
It is right, because I started doing that early on in my days. Boots used to go through really quick. And you've got your little toe filed a bit halfway down, because you don't realise it's actually doing as much damage as it is when it does do it. So, yeah, basically the side of your boot goes. And that was the first one. It progressed from that into your knee down and stuff like that.
Now it's like elbow and almost arm. Them pictures are like Quattararo and there was one of Martin the other day, and they're literally like an inch above getting the shoulder down on the curbs. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy now. They're using them for everything. They're using them to save slides, obviously progression and all on tyres and handling and all that. the angles you can get to now is, incredible compared to what you used to be able to, with tyres and all that bit. So, yeah, knees, elbows, everything's going down now.
Just to quickly touch back on the farm, obviously you've got like a few different pets around the house and stuff. But over the years, what's like the maddest pets that you've had?
We've had quite a few. We tend to get all the rejects, basically. So all those dogs there's no pedigrees in anything. It's Emma, Miguel. She had one because at that time it was a Chihuahua. Because in fashion, it was these handbag dogs, weren't they? Yeah, great. It lasted about 2 weeks and it went from here to us. So then we were looking after it. So that was that one. Leon's got a couple now. We've had a few from RFPCA, So we've got a farm. So, we like the dogs and everything. We've got dogs, farm, dogs, chickens, goats, tortoise that wanders all over the floor. So
massive, the tortoise.
It's ridiculously big. Yeah. Now, normally, like a house one's like around about the size of your palm. This, not even exaggerating. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's half the table. It is massive.
It is, yeah.
Did you used to have a pet monkey?
I've had a pet monkey, Mindy. Its name we called. Yeah, that's when it was actually, to be honest, that was when I was living with my mother in the council house in Langley Mill, and it used to live in the outside toilet. That was fantastic.
Go for it.
We can't just skate over this. What possessed you to get? How did you end up with a monkey?
One of the main sponsors, Mal Carter, that started all my career off, and the whole family's career, and he was into all this different animals and all that, and he got two. I don't know where the hell he got from, I never asked. He got male and female, and he had the male because it was bigger. Now I had the female. And I sort of brought it up, but it was wild.
There's a story in Alan's book about Mal had what they're called when they've got the body and then they've got a long neck.
Llama.
Llama. I know. A llama once bit Alan, and he told his dad, like, I think he was going around the garden on a motorbike, and the llama had bit him, and he'd said to his dad, that llama's just bit us, and his dad just got a gun out and just put it to the head and just shot the llama in front of him and said, that won't happen again, so something like that.
You're having us on.
No, that's it.
No, that was true. Yeah, but what's missing is Alan was actually teasing it on a motocross bike.
That's in the book. Yeah.
Is it in the book? Yeah, that was true because I know about that. Mm-hmm. And it was hard ground, frozen ground. And he will only get really close to him because it was chasing him, and then he'd set off on the motocross bike to, so it wouldn't catch him. But this time he let the clutch go too quick, hard ground. It spun its wheel and it took a nice big piece out his back. Yeah, and I thought, that saves you right. But then the next bit didn't come quite right.
And you mentioned there that so Alan's dad Mal, which was Farah Racing, that started off you. Was it both your brothers as well?
Yeah, that started off a real quick one because most everybody knows the story of that. But my brother started first production racing. They were just labourers basically, so they just funded it itself, production racing, and then they got one bike together because they couldn't afford it. Philip was good, the other brother, and Mal Carter seen him, and he just, Mal Carter was a fanatic. I mean, he didn't gain anything on what you call, advertising, all that. He was just a fanatic on it. He did it, he raced himself and everything, and they picked Philip up, and obviously went a long way with him when the Barry Sheen was about, when Barry Sheen was at the top, so he did really well, but then obviously he had a tragic accident at Scarborough. And when that happened, then Mal Carter then looked to me because I was young and gave me the opportunity. And it just built from there, really. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he was fantastic bloke. He was a rough diamond, they used to call him, and he was definitely rough.
So did he just say
anyone shooting at llamas? I'll definitely put that as rough.
Yeah.
So you fancied racing, and did he just buy you a bike and you essentially ran you in it?
Yeah, he on my side it was I mean, at this point then I'd just got a normal job, builder, standard building job, and all that stuff, labour. And then he come up with this opportunity where he said, do you want to ride some bikes? I love bikes because that's what I've been around all his life. And he just says, yeah. And he took 3 bikes at me straight away, Yamahas.
3?
Yeah, 3 straight at me.
Did he go, I need just the one? Or was it just like...
It was like, wow. And we've got to realise I'm in accounts last year, bringing just a standard wage and all that. And you pay your board to your mum, obviously feed you and all that stuff. So I find it dead hard to even get to meetings and back, which that was a really hard one for me, that was. But I got through it, I won't say legally ways, but I got through it, siphoning petrol and all that stuff, to get to meetings and all, anything what you had to do, couldn't keep a job. Because straight away at that time it used to be Mallory Park Wednesday, Cadwell Thursday, practice. So as soon as you start doing that, you builder man says, no, it's no good for us. So that was all. So then I signed on dole for ages. And so I'm getting my dole because I've got no money coming in because I'm not that good. I'm not getting money basically. So I signed on dole for about a year, and then the dole man got me. Put all the papers in front of me and says, where's all this money coming from? Cause they say, we paying your dole, yet you're in the motorcycle papers, you're winning this, you're winning that. And that's the sponsor. So I just took that to Mal, that's nothing to do with me, So I got away with that one a bit.
It's mad in a sport that's predominantly...
That's not me.
Yeah,
it's got your face on it. It's not me. I'm telling you now, in the great words of Shaggy, it wasn't me.
It's, in a sport which at the sort of, even the entry point, it's so expensive to get into it. So to have an opportunity from that background is brilliant. Was this, at this point, had you lost one brother at Scarborough?
I'd lost Philip at Scarborough, which Terry first started, and Harry started racing, which I've skipped. He bought a road bike and Norton Dominator, and got banned off the road within 2 weeks. So went racing with it. And that's how the Haslam started racing.
Was it speed or dangerous riding or a bit of both, really?
Speed.
Just flat out.
Speed,
clocking on.
Yeah, because he just thought that he's bought this bike and it was like the norm. It was the fastest on the road. And in his head, that was it. He was it, And he went to Cadwell Park with it, didn't he? Thinking he's going to wipe the floor. And at the time there was Bonnevilles at 650 Bonnevilles and 750 Bonnevilles. Well, he was on a Norton Dominator 1000. So to him, the CC, I've got it. My bike's better than all that, and it's bigger. Basically. Well, they went out first race, and I'm not joking. It was more than last. He got such a shock. But instead of pulling him off, it went the opposite way. He just dug in and tried,
Good lad.
Get better. So yeah, so that's how it all first started.
I must ask, before we go down this rabbit hole even further, what were your parents thinking of all this? Was it just like...
Well, as I say, my mum looked after us all.
Yeah.
My dad, I didn't really know much because he wasn't quite that good, to be fair, in the family side of it. But that's just another thing. So my dad wasn't there. My mum looked after everybody, but there was 10 of us all together. 7 brothers, 3 sisters. So
Jesus,
so there was a house full anyway.
I bet Christmas was fun around that place, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that was pretty good. The brothers sort of looked after us, all that.
It's a big family, that, isn't it?
It was, yeah. As I say, it's you say all these hard times and that, but they were good times anyway. It was good. Sort of the brothers just went to work, chucked the wage packet on the table. My mum got the food out of it and gave them the money back. What they could back, and that was the system. Didn't matter what you earn, you just go. Ma'am, there we are. She looks after us all, and then she gives you so much back to it, and that was generally it. And then obviously it got better and better as the years went on. Obviously. Yeah. So that's my first brother. He started it. Then the younger brother to him, Philip, he started up, and he was actually better because he was younger and everything.
Here comes the brotherly thing.
Yeah.
Here we are.
So he got the sponsor from Al Carter. But then, as a quick story on it, first brother got accident at Scarborough. He broke down and somebody hit him, basically, so it wasn't his fault. And then my second brother went into sidecars because he didn't quite get the solos. He was actually a bit older. He was 41, and then going up to 42. So he went into sidecars, and to be honest, he had a lot of success in sidecars. It was good. It was on it, But then I think it was Assen. Brakes failed, and that was another tragic one. So,
was this before you started racing?
No, my first brother Philip, that was before I started racing, and then Malk picked me up because of that.
What age were you then?
I first had a ride on my brother's bike when I was 15 at Cadwell. So that was on a Norton Dominator, because that's all we got.
So all then, like, no scrambling as kit, like
No.
nothing. You went straight on to
Straight
the black
on.
stuff straight away.
Straight away. Well, you basically, what you did then was MOT failures. You used to go down canals or fields or whatever, that were it. I think if you paid more than $5 for the bike, it was a lot. One of them things, But so yeah, I went from there straight onto track.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was good.
Did you at that point? Obviously, you've seen your brothers and you're watching the bike racing. Was it just like, were you on the sidelines at this point, going, I need to be a part of this, or was it more, I want to beat my brothers?
Competition, obviously, with the brothers.
Yes,
Yeah, that's normal, but not. I would say it was never that harsh, to beat the others, very harsh,
Yes.
Like you got to beat everybody else, It was more trying to get it done, so it was sort of everybody, you pitched in to buy a van and whatever, to get you sent there. And it was more of a join together to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I say Mal Carter was the biggest thing for us.
Yeah.
How did, if you don't mind me, how did Mal appear? Your brother just came home with a
Here at
Mal Carter, yeah.
Cadwell Park. Mal Carter rode himself. It was a big fella, big, quite heavy fella. And it was absolutely, to be honest, a nutter. Like he crashed nearly every race. Like this is the sponsor, Mal Carter, hard as nails, but crashed every race. And he seen my brother Philip riding again him, and he was that impressed. That's where it all started. He just says, "Look, do you want to have a go on my bike?" Basically,
right.
And it was just, he rode his bike, and yeah, it sort of followed suit straight away from that.
Fell in love with the family.
You said, so it started off with, you had 3 bikes. What 3 classes were you in then?
I went 250 and 350, and then he got me one. It was a little bit later when I say 3 bikes. It was then a 750 2-stroke.
And did you compete in all 3 classes at the same time?
Yeah.
Wow, so a lot of practice.
A lot of practice, yeah.
And how did your first sort of few years go?
I think that's why I come across real fast, because I went from club level to national to international in nearly a year.
Wow.
Straight through, because I was doing that many classes. As I say, I was out a couple of times. I was out in every race except for the sidecar. The national level in England. And I can, I suppose, a little bit of glory. I did it twice at international level. That's again Randy Mamolas and the Americans. I won every class. Wow. That were Alton Park, and then a smaller class, a national class.
Wow.
But it was fantastic. I never even had time to do the sighting lap. Like you do the warm-up lap, whatever you want to call it. I didn't take time. It was come in, jump over the barrier, and they used to let you then, because it was a lot more relaxed. Jump over the barrier, get on the next bike, and it always worked out. It was either 125, because I went on 125s there as well, and then next race was 750. Oh God, it was terrible. It was good, fantastic excitement.
Yeah. Take a lap or two just to get your braking markers readjusted.
Braking points was the big one. The bonus of it is it was always the worst bit was you used to close the throttle on the 125 and then go, oh shit, open it again. I'm nowhere near yet. Where at least it was that way, not the other way around.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah. And was it around that time that you were awarded MCN Man of the Year?
Yeah, once I'd done a lot in England, and I started, winning a few bits and what have you. So yeah, I think it was the normal thing. Barry Sheen at the time was the top. He was the one that you got to try and impress or knock off the pedestal, basically. And I just started about getting nearly there, with that. And it's like anything. It sounds bad. They always like the underdog. Well, Barry Sheen was, fantastic bloke. But he got factory bikes, and I'm not saying that's why I won. He was a good rider. And I was the one that, half the time I don't got fairing on my bike, because I've not got time, so I was the underdog, basically. And the crowd loved it, so yeah, when you say Man of the Year, it helped along that way. Yeah.
But at this point, I'm just thinking how, within a year you went through all them classes.
Yeah.
What was your drive at that point? Just to think, I need to get to there to race Barry Sheen kind of thing. Was that, what was...
You just aim for the top. So the first bit is yes, the smaller classes, I'll be dead honest, I didn't like them. but you had to do them to get to the higher classes, you know. So, but I was lucky where he did actually let me, you know, he took me in to get a load of mileage on every class. But I finished up just doing the, you know, the superbike class at the end of it, because that's the one, you know, that's the ultimate. Yeah.
What was it about the smaller bikes that you didn't like? Was it just because of the power of the big bike?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like anything. I suppose it's this thing where, you know, more power in your hand and faster brakes and harder to stop. It was just more exciting, you know, than sort of running lots of corner speed and angles and stuff like that. It was more exciting to have that. And I think the bigger bikes at the time, it was 750 Yamaha 2-stroke at the time, that was my era at that point. And the bike was actually competitive, you know, really good. Yamaha brought a bike out there, a 2-stroke, that was nearly capable of winning factory bikes, you know, like your Sheens and stuff. So that made it really exciting. It meant that you weren't on the back foot, you know. It was basically down to you. That's what I enjoyed a lot. And I say Barry Sheehan, when I didn't know him, I thought it was the normal Londoner, you know, person that, you know, you go, oh Christ, yeah, he's on this high pedestal type thing. Get to know him, we don't like that. You know, it was absolutely down to earth, grand. Because he come to me one go at Mallory Park, and he says, you want to just slow down a bit, you know, slow down a little bit, he says. And he says, if you slow down a bit, you'll go faster. And I looked at, oh yeah, Barry Sheehan is talking to me. Wow, you know, and I said, nodding my head, yeah. And I walked away. First thing that was in my head, it's frightened of me. You know, like that was me thinking, it's frightened of me. He's telling me to slow down. But it was best information that he ever gave me, to be honest.
No,
I was too airy, you know, and crashing too much, basically. And he was saying, if you slow off a bit, you'll get more mileage. And so actually, it was good information he was giving me, but I didn't think at the time. I just thought, I'm on it. I'm getting it. You know, like, which was fantastic. You know.
But how long did that information take to sink in? That's what I want to know. That was it a few races?
Well, Mallory Park that war. I think I broke my collarbone in that race coming out the hairpin. You know, I've got a picture of me like flying through the air with my heel ripped off my boot and everything. I thought, you know, and I think when I hit the floor, I sort of thought back to that and went, he's probably right, you know.
One of the best bits in the museum is all the screws that you've got in that cabinet of yours and Leon's for different brakes. Talk us through your injuries through the years. What injuries?
Yeah, I was quite lucky. You break a lot of stuff, you know. So yeah, you go for. I went for more arms, fingers, legs, collarbones was a big one on me. But that was to do with the helmet, to be fair. I got first helmet that come out, the big, you know, full-faced helmet was a Bell helmet. You know, it was like the first up-and-coming one. And the chin piece was so low on it, I didn't realise. I think it was the 5th collarbone I broke when the actual doctor says there's something breaking them, because it's breaking straight through the same break. He says, and that shouldn't be possible. And I realised anytime I got a little bang on the back of the head, the chin piece, breaking the collarbone. Yeah, right. So I had a lot of collarbones on that one.
Was it just you getting that break then, or was it everyone wearing the lid?
I think it would have been everyone, but I think I'd got more odds because I think I crashed more than the others. So that was that side of it. But arms, legs, fingers, you know, that's a Cadwell Park one, solid. That was coming out barn, and I did it 3 times after that out of the gooseneck. You know, so arms, collarbones. I'm up to now, what is it now? Bloody 5 this one, 4 this one now. And that was only a few years ago on bloody pit bikes. That way, it was bloody collarbone smashed to pieces, punctured lung, and 2 ribs.
I remember Leon saying
that was pit biking.
Last time I had Leon on the podcast, he was talking about going pit biking with you, and the like. Even when Johnny and all everyone's there, same with the little CB 500s at the school. Yeah. He said none of them can beat you even now.
No, the little 500 bikes at the school was good because I think mainly I'd got that much mileage on them because I was there at the school every time. Yeah, they'd just come every so often or whatever. So I'd got a lot of mileage on what needed to be to get a lap time. So I really wanted to come out with me. I thought, come on, you know, I don't want to go on the big bikes. I know you're really made of me. I said, well, let's go on these little ones, you know, which was good fun that one.
Yeah, class. And also, it's one of them things when we do the podcast, we always end up chatting like as we're setting up, and it's almost like you have to like pause the conversation so that you don't have to repeat it. But we got talking about one of your planes, and I said, have you had any close? And as you started talking, I said, stop. You can just tell us on the podcast. So yeah, any close calls in the plane?
We did early on. Obviously, me and Leon's got, you know, licenses for it now and all that stuff. But obviously, because we're bikers and that, we tend to probably think we're better than we are. And we got
overconfidence.
Yes, overconfidence. I think that's what you could say. And we got actually stuck in Clad. We're trying to go down to a sponsor down north, and we got stuck in Clad. We shouldn't have done. That was our fault. And once you're in Clad, we didn't realise you get disorientated. You don't know where you are basically. We finished up. I'd headed out to sea, so it ended because I didn't know how far the Clad went down. I didn't know if it were Clad into fog. So we're trying to land at this airfield, and I thought, well, we've got to get through this stuff. Tried to get through it, couldn't get through it, and then finished up. We completely lost it. Didn't know where we were. I finished up heading at the floor, and Leon's there outside of me. We've got a Sky Demon, that's like a sat nav that tells you your height and all the other stuff and what have you. He's shouting to me the height, and we ended up now heading at the floor at like 140 mile an hour. We don't know where we're pointing. We hadn't a clue. And I'm starting to pull upwards. It's going faster. So what had happened is it's gone inside loop. We didn't know. So I'm pulling up, and it starts to build faster then. And he's shouting now, and he got right down to like 500 feet off the sea. And I finished about to pull, because if I had to pull that hard and that quick, but you've got to watch, you don't snap your plane because the plane's is stressed to a certain level. The G-force on that is 6G. Well, I pulled it because I had to. We were either in the sea or pull out of it. We pulled out of it, and you couldn't believe it. But we in fog, not Clad. It was actually fog. And now trying to get out this fog, trying to hold the wings level and all that, it took us 25 minutes. And he was shouting to me the direction from the sat nav, basically, Sky Demon. And all I was trying to do is work out, is the wings level, because I've got no instruments for it. And all I kept doing on that is I kept pulling up. If it slowed down, I know I'm level. If it speeded up, I must have a wing low. So then I went right, pulled. If it went faster, I've gone the wrong way. So I had to go other way, pull up. The shape we do, it took us 25 minutes to go out of it. I'm not joking. Once we go out of it, he was shouting everything right, left, and all that stuff. So we got out of it, but we were close. But when we popped out the actual fog, cloud, whatever it is, none of us said anything. We just quiet. We just went, oh, landed it, and went, oh shit. That was stupid. And that's big lesson learned.
Don't tell your mum.
No. God, that was close. But at one stage, we was going 140 straight at the floor. And as I say, you don't see anything. And I pulled up and it went faster. Literally like, pull up and go faster. It should go slower. But then when we looked at the actual data, it had actually turned over and done an inside loop. So as I pulled up, it swooped under. Yeah. Never again. So now it's not yes, it put me a lot of respect for it. Yeah.
So if anyone asks if have you ever done loop to loop, not on purpose.
No, that's it. Yeah. So no, it was that was, I would say, yes, we got out of it. Bit of luck, I think, more than anything, and I think we know that. I think we know that it was a bit. Normally, when you go out of stuff that's real dangerous, you get out of it because you get out of it on your own. You go out, you can go out of it. That was unknown. It was like a wow. Yeah.
Out of all the road races you've done, all the Grand Prix, everything, is that your biggest near miss?
Yes,
it's got to be, because I was
100%,
about to say
100% biggest near miss for sure. And it's more after, when you realise what had happened. Even then, you go, wow, that was close. At the time, it's just happening, and you're trying to get out of it. So you're not really thinking that much on that point of not being rotten, of dying. You're just thinking, get out of it. And then once we go out of it and go home, it's like, wow, that was close.
Have you ever been close to when you're coming along and you can see a plane come the other way and you've got to swerve out the way?
I've had at Manchester Airport, I had a bloody great big, I think it was 747 or something, come out of the clouds as I was going across top of the clouds. I could see the ground, because I'm on what you call visual, and I could see holes in the clouds. And I wasn't in his airspace, but he just popped out of the clouds, and that was close. I could see the passengers in it, so it was close. Yeah. And I wasn't in the wrong at that point. Where the other one going into that fog, I should have knew better. This one, I didn't. I just popped out. But yeah, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long does it take to like organise a flight? Can you just get out of this studio, get in that and fly?
Yes. You've got rules that you have to abide by. Here it's 2,500 feet above me. I'm not allowed in because I'm in East Midlands airspace. So there's rules that you're not allowed in. But as far as jumping in it and going anywhere you want, no.
That's mental.
No, you can just go where you want with it, which is great.
So do you do like, do you know how some people like jump on a bike just for a blast on a Sunday? Do you sometimes just go for a fly just for something to do sort of thing?
Me and Anne, we tend to go, Matlock's really nice, so, peak discing and all that stuff. We mostly go there and we just as slow as it can fly, 2,000 feet, and we just float around,
That's incredible.
Tea time, and it's what's good about it, because I can fly straight out my farm, my field. You sort of eat your tea and we just say, oh, should we go for a flight? And it's like, next 10 minutes you're in the air.
Wow.
That is incredible.
It's fantastic.
Do you know, when you think back to your upbringing and like your early years as a teenager, do you sometimes like pinch yourself at what the life that you've sort of got now and that?
I never ever thought I would fly a plane. Never. I didn't think it was in my capabilities, to be honest, or whatever. I just thought it's not, for me to actually go in a plane and fly it, for me, it's incredible. It's a fantastic thing for me. Yes, I've done all my bike racing and all that, but when you just says in my younger days, I just didn't think that's not me. I can't go that far, but now it's fantastic. Yeah.
In your opinion, when do you think that happened? Like, when do you think I'm actually look what I've built for the family, and like, at what point did it sink in?
Yeah, it sounds bad, and I'm sounding all, but look at this, I've got a plane and all that stuff. But in my upbringing, I never bothered what you call the fancy cars or all like that. It didn't interest me, to be honest. Bikes, fast, all great, but cars never did. So anything I earned, I sort of put it into the farm. Just kept chugging it into the farm because at that point then I hadn't got a license, but I had bought a plane from America that you build up yourself.
That's such a Ron Haslam thing.
Yeah. So that was another story. That was wow. I built it. It was only called it MX. It's a material one, but it looks like a plane. It's got a stick and all that stuff. 2-stroke engine behind your head.
Did you shit yourself the first time you went out on it?
Well, no, I've not done any flying at this point. I've done model flying, the radio control stuff. That's what I've done. That was me. That was me push. I want to fly. I can fly models. I want to fly.
I understand physics to a T now.
I know. I've got it. Yeah. And I bought this one from American kit form, come in just like big long bags. And you had to do everything. You had to sort of cut the holes in it, put the wires that hold it and all this stuff. I built it all up on this littlest wreck you've ever known behind my brother's house. And built on this little dinky wreck. And obviously, so excited because I built this plane, canvas plane up. We built it up. But I thought, I've got to run it in now. I thought I'll just run it in on this wreck. So I kept going up and down this wreck. And obviously, you get faster and faster, don't you? You're not, you just, and that little, you sort of went from one end to the other. I had to stop, physically ush it round and then go back the other way. That's what I was doing. And you got a railway bank one side, and council house was the other side, and I'm in between them. And obviously, what happened, didn't it? I got going that quick, bloody wind got it and took it up in the air, didn't it? And I couldn't get down for the fence, so I just nailed it and went. Oh, and that's it. That's my first lesson. Off I go. Wow. And at that time, I thought I'd gone high, but probably went 1,000 feet only. And I went up there. I think not a chance of getting back in that little field down there. I thought, wow.
Where did you go?
I went to where I knew another farmer had got a bigger field. I thought, I'm off in that one. There's no way I can get back down to that one. It's impossible. And so I'm up at like 1,000 feet. And I thought, right, okay, let me get some practice in. So 1,000 feet, I made out I'm like going to land in the field, but 1,000 foot up. So I did everything. Oh, yeah, that was good. Did that about 10 times. I thought, right, okay, I'm going to go at it now. Landing it. To be fair, it went all right. Yeah, that was my first lesson. Yeah.
So you never had lessons or anything? You just taught yourself?
There's nothing on that. At that point, because the plane was that built and light, it was under the law to have a license. You could actually fly it. Like the power gliders and all that, you don't have to, because it was under. So I wasn't doing it wrong. It's that one hanging up there outside. Yeah. Yes, it's that one. It was actually that plane. Yeah. Wow. And it was fantastic, and that sort of took me on. God. That was like a 45 mile an hour only, like a dead basic kite with an engine, and I went from that. Then obviously wanted to go further. My next one was the Eurostar, which were great. That fantastic plane.
Wow, that's incredible. I think Dom has just got the camera in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I had to have a look at that. That was class.
Yeah. So no, that was my first flying lesson on my own. And as I say, then I had to get a license, so they had to go through all the licenses and the tests and all that to get it through, which I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah, I bet. Now, back to the racing. So
brilliant.
You said, first year you flew through everything from club racing to nationals to internationals. And then did you stay at international for quite some time?
What it was, I was with Mal Carter at the time. But he took me through everything because, again, it was a rogue. He'd got loads of money. He'd got, I think, a couple of garages. And he was a bit dodgy on everything. So he'd got what I call a lot of cash. The
tax man dodged him a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't know about it and all that stuff. So he chucked all that at me, which was fantastic. Straight through to international, and then I started getting some success. International, you got your sort of Barry Sheens, some Americans coming over and it was different in them times because international was not a championship; it was a one-off race. Like Donington, Cadwell, whatever, just paid to have the event, and you got start money, prize money and all that stuff, and that's where your money come from the event. So Barry Sheen would get probably 20 grand for doing one meeting, and that were a lot in them days.
Shit, that's a lot now.
Yeah. Where I were on 5 grand, but that went to Mal, because Mal, not just me.
In terms of do you know average wage right now? I think in the UK is it about 30 grand, 25, 30 grand a year, something like that. What, just to give some context, what would an average salary have been in those days?
To be fair, it's very hard to make any money now in the early days. But the early days, I was lucky. I got Mal Carter behind me.
Oh, sorry, I meant in normal life, in the rest of it. So the average wage in 2022 is, I think, about 25 grand.
Yeah.
Just to give some context, if you were getting say 5 grand start money or whatever, in those days, what would have average wage be?
Average wage was half of what you've just said. You
you were almost getting half the average wage for a weekend.
Half of it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But what you got to realise is Mal Carter put all the money up. So basically, the rule was, he paid for everything, and we weren't making any money. So he paid for everything. All I'd got to do was get me sent to meetings. I had to put the petrol in the van and get me to the meetings and back. That was my bill, which was odd at the time, as I say, when you start talking about dough, 9-10 quid, for a week, it was a bit weird, but yeah, and then you have to pay your mum.
Good job. Fuel prices weren't what they are now.
God, yeah. So no, it was odd then, but as I say, how we worked. Once we started making a bit of money, he had 2/3, I had 1/3, or whatever come in, and then near the end, when I was making what we'd say for that time, more money, we went 50-50, and he took me right through everything, and then Under Britain picked me up, the factory, on the factory type for England, and I rode both bikes. I rode for Under Britain plus Mal Carter, so I was riding Honda and Yamaha, which is unknown now.
Did that take some persuading to do that, or were they quite? Yeah, don't worry about it.
I think what it was, the biggest thing was, we went to Silverstone GP. And it was the one that Barry Sheen had the big thing with Roberts when he put 2 fingers to him. It was that meeting, And they put a support race on what they call a Formula One. That was 1,000cc 4-stroke. It was a support race to it. And Under Britain, that's what I was riding Under Britain with. And that was my first ride from. They said, do you want to try our bike? So that's my first ride for Under Britain. They said, try see what you think. So I've been riding for Mal Carter. And I jumped on it for that meeting, and I won it easy, because the bike was mint, really nice, factory bike, I won it easy, and I even lapped faster than what Roberts and Sheen lapped up, on it.
On a Formula One?
Probably sheer luck of stopping on, I don't know, but, and that then just nailed me for a contract with Honda Britain. They just went, need you. And they even accepted the following year me running a Yamaha and them. But then the year after that, they wouldn't accept the Yamaha. They just said, no, we want you on your own, like, so it sort of progressed that way.
And was that in the equivalent of what MotoGP is now? Were you riding for Honda?
It was, for Honda, it was England though, so it was Honda Britain, so the English side of it. It's a bit like the British Championship now, and Honda's in it. It was that level, so it wasn't GP level at that point.
So like BSB and
BSB stuff. It was that.
Did it include the Isle of Man TT as well?
Yes, the Isle of Man TT was actually a World Championship round.
Yeah,
when I was in it, because I was lucky. I got 3 World Championships, Formula 1 twice and Formula 3 once, and it was Isle of Man was included in that. And to be honest, you had to do it, because if you didn't do the Isle of Man, that's what the factories wanted, basically, because that was the big pull.
Yeah.
So, but I liked the Isle of Man, and Mal Carter liked it as well. So we did a lot with it.
What was the initial thought about going to the Isle of Man? It's a bit like you have to. Was it? Yeah, you had to do it. So
it was really at the beginning. I really enjoyed it because they let me go on the basis as we don't want you to do anything. This is even Honda and Mal. He just look, don't do anything. Just go there, ride round, enjoy yourself. We'll come back home. That's it. He said, we're not bothered about anything. And that went for 3 years. I went 3 years just going, and it was just basically not thinking, I'm going to win, I'm going to do this. Nothing. Nobody expected anything on me. It was great. Then after the 3rd year, I got to know the circuit really well, and I did win one. I won the Formula 1. And from then on, I put pressure on myself. When I went to win. Which you lose your enjoyment a little bit then. Because, somebody goes quick, next time out I'll go quicker. Mm-hmm. It's that type of thing that you do, and that gets you a bit of pressure building. So there was nobody putting pressure on me, except for me.
Mm-hmm. In terms of like leathers, helmet, there's lots of sort of safety things, like we've got helicopters that can land next to the track, and flying marshal. There's lots of safety things being put in, but obviously back then the bikes were a little slower.
Yeah.
In terms of the fatality level, was it more dangerous or less dangerous back then?
I'd say it's a little bit more dangerous now, purely what you've just said. The performance in every way, whether it's tyres, bikes, brakes, the performance has gone up that much. The speed's gone up so much. And if you start talking about the Isle of Man, you've got to do it. You only want to do it if you want to do it, because it's too big a risk otherwise. You don't do it because you want to get a ride of something. Now you do it because you want to do it, and that's your choice.
When you were doing it, was it like quite rare for there to be a fatality, or was it? Was it?
There was. There was still some. Yeah, there was but not as many, nowhere near what they are now. As I say,
that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because most things tend to get safer as the years go on.
Yeah, but that didn't, because the Isle of Man is a different world. Well, I won my last race there at 140 mile an hour. They're doing 130 something now, mile an hour. It's like ridiculous, isn't it?
Dom races the TT. Dom's stuck on 129.6.
Yeah. Well, I won my last one at, I think it was 114. And a story to go to that. This is how bikes developed. Yeah, so I won my last one about 114. I won the race. Yeah, that perfect. And then obviously I went to GPs and all that stuff. So I went that direction. And then Honda asked me to do a pillion lap, like years and years later, on a Fireblade. They said, "Can we do a pillion lap?" So what we're doing a raffle all week. And whoever wins the raffle gets the pillion ride on back of you with the roads closed.
So you're the one riding the bike at this point, yeah.
So I'm going to ride. So they've asked me to come back from and do the pillion lap front with them. And so you've got to realise now, I did 114 on a full blown, superbike, slicks, everything, and all that. I got on this pillion bike, bog standard, brand new tyres, not a mile on the bike. Just got it off the showroom, hadn't they? All on the grid. Whoever won it was actually a sidecar passenger, a girl, littlest girl you've ever seen, sidecar passenger. Jumped on it, set off down Bray Hill, off we went. I got halfway around, and God, closest I ever come to crashing.
Really?
Jesus. And this girl, I'm not joking, she's a sidecar passenger. She hadn't got a nerve in her body. She just thought everything was perfect, you know. And I got halfway around and I went over one of the risers and this thing went into the biggest tank slapper you've ever known. And I went curb to curb, flat stick, 6th gear, you know. And it was like, bit of luck, wide into the curb, backed it down a little bit, but then carried on over the mountain and all that stuff. And cutting it short, we pulled into the pits anyway, and the cameras were all there and the microphone that, goes around all the TT and everything. And as soon as they come in, they flipped the visor up. And what do you think to that? I hope you don't mind me swearing, but...
You crack on.
So they picked the visor up and she went straight in with the microphone and says, what do you think to that? She went, fucking hell. And I went all the way around the Isle of Man, all on the speakers and everything. Because we got this big tank slap and we got all the mountain section, she thought that was normal. I thought, wow, you don't realise how close that was, And, it was fantastic. And to cut it short, a standard start and a stop just after the pits on a standard bike, road tyres, everything, 110.
Wow.
I won it at 114. I've gone on a bog standard road bike with somebody on the back, but brakes not even better.
Cruising.
Yeah, brakes, the performance of the bike has come up so much, speed and everything.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Another memery's just popped into my head from when I used to go to Donington to watch the GPs, and you used to do the pillion laps. Yeah, I once seen you with Prince Harry in the wet. It was Prince Harry, wasn't it?
Yes.
And you came out of the old hairpin, literally spinning sideways, wheeling like that.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Folks don't realise how quick the bikes can go around the circuit, and you get all the road lads and all this, and I really used to enjoy it that, you get road lads that first they buy a bike, superbike, whatever, for the road, road version of it. And first thing they do is they put Olin suspension on it or they change the brakes and all that. Our bikes were bog standard as they come. And you get them on the back and you show them what performance they can do on the bike. And it absolutely, transforms them. They go, I can't believe it can do that good much. But it's on a track, which it's a lot better.
Do you know when you were in your school, did you ever have people coming in giving it the big one and things, and then just say, "Oh, jump on the back, I'll take you for a lap," and just scare them shitless?
I've done that a few times, yes, and that's purely mainly when they've says there's something wrong with the bike, they've says, oh yeah, the bikes, the tyres we use, I used to use road tyres because we didn't used to change the tyres for wet or dry. So I picked a road tyre that did both, basically. So it wasn't the good performance in the dry, but it would cope in the wet. So in other words, it spun up easy and everything. So it made it even feel better, and as soon as you got on, oh, these tyres aren't very good. It's doing this, it's doing that. If they're complaining a lot, I'd say, well, okay, just for sake, I says, jump on back of me. I said, I'll give you a few laps. And it was just really as a, you're not very happy with the day. Let me see if I can make you happier, And when they come in, then they just didn't say, oh, they just went, wow, I didn't realise it could do that. The power, the acceleration, the braking, and the big one that they don't know about, I always had a handle on the tank from, so they put the arms around me, grabbed the handle, a bit more secure from, But even then, the braking are that powerful. You braking as hard as you can, they actually slide up your back and start pivoting over your head. Because that. But what they don't realise, because their body weight holding a handle low down, they pivot up, and I can get them right on top of my helmet, but they don't know I'm actually controlling that with a brake. So I'm getting them. They think they're going over, they think they're coming over my head, and as soon as they start getting a bit too high, I just let the brake off a bit more, like that. And oh god, and they come in. I'm not joking. The knuckles are white, where they've been hanging on. It's great. Yeah.
Do you miss the school days?
I do really, yeah. It was good. Again, the COVID hit, which hit on the factory quite heavy, so it made it so we couldn't get the bikes off the Honda either. So we had to back up.
I must ask you taking a part of the Monarch around the track. What was your briefing like? Don't kill part of the royal family. What was the briefing like, or was it relaxed?
Oh, it was, yeah. To be fair, we did go a bit gentler with him, but again, but not a lot. Because it's the thrill of them getting the buzz of wow, it can do all this, and. To be fair, even when you're getting them to come over your head, or even you get some young lads, they think they're helping you out. So what they do, you're coming into Redgate, they'll sort of hang out before you're there. And that cocks you up, 'cause it mucks you up, and it, you know, and they keep doing it. So to stop them doing it, what you do is, as soon as they hang out, touch the brakes, they fly around the front straight away, because they can't hang on, can they? You can swing your leg out and hook and catch them, and then push them back on again. They stop doing it then. They don't hang out then. You think, oh, that's it. That, I want you to stop there. You know, like, stuff like that.
If I ever see you outside of a pub and say, do you want to lift home? There is no way I'm getting on the back of a bike with you. Not a hope.
Nice, good.
So back to racing day. So you got a little bit of the TT. Overall of the time at the TT, you mentioned you won the F1 race.
Won the F1. It was a Formula 3, but to be fair, it was another shop that actually made the bike. It was on the Formula 3 bike, little 400 it was. And to be fair, that championship, I can class it as a championship. You know, I won a world championship on it, but the bike was so fast compared to everybody else's. It was an easy one. You know, like when it's like, I'm actually on a better bike than everybody else here. You know, like, and I was capable of riding the Isle of Man as well. You know, like, so it was like a bit of both put together. It was as long as the bike don't break, I was going to win it.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
When you were in Honda Britain, who were your teammates at the time?
I've had quite a few. Joey Dunlop, he was one of the best ones. I knew Joey really well. Come to the house, went to his house a lot. So yeah, Joey was a fantastic one. Alex George, he was another TT runner. Wayne Gardner, he moved on with us into the GPs and stuff. Roger Marshall, you know, I don't know if you know the names, but you know,
we know all these.
I've had Roger Marshall on the podcast.
Yeah. So all them, quite a few. You know,
what were your fondest memories of Joey?
I think his way of life, how he, you know, did the way of life. He was like, you know, he just did what he wanted, and you know, and that was it. He was happy with everything. And again, he was one that didn't want fancy cars or all like that. He was just happy with what he did. You know, like, and that's what I liked about him. And his family were the same. You know, all the family was good. You know, their family was a bit like our family. You know, it was, you could walk in his house and maybe send a cup of tea without asking anybody. You know, it didn't matter. You know, like, it was one of them which, like, my upbringing related perfectly to what his upbringing was. I think that was the bit, you know. It was a person that never says much, never talked hardly at all. You could go 2 days, and if you got 2 words out of him, it'd be a lot. You know, he's one of them that, you know, but it would, you know, he'd play on bikes or whatever. I went to his place and went to Giant's Causeway. We went catching crabs in the things. They were showing me how to catch crabs and stuff like that. You know, the big things, and put your hand underneath and like find where they are gently so they don't get you. Then pull this big frigging crab out. You know, God, that frightened shit out of me. That did. You know, like, but yeah, it was, you know, it was good. And then like jumping from rocks to rocks and stuff. What you call fun, but you know, just normal. You know, yeah. And so
class.
Yeah, it was good.
And back then, explain what the equivalent of British Superbikes is now. Was it like an ACU sort of championship?
Yeah, you got the Formula 1 championship that took you all around the England stuff, plus us, and you know, the same job really.
Yeah.
But the main one was Formula 1, which was 1000cc. You know, that was the main class. The Superbike class, it was actually slightly lower. You know, because the factories wanted the 1000cc 4 strokes. There, so that was the main class for it. Pretty similar, but I would say a bit more. How can I say it? A bit more freedom. You know, like, you know, you could get somebody on a privateer bike, you know, that would actually have a chance of winning. You know, and stuff. You know, even though the Hondas were really good as factory bikes. So yeah, a bit more, a bit more flex. But it's like when I first started the GPs, you'd go to Spa and there'd be 50, 60 riders. You had to qualify, and if you didn't qualify, you went home. All right, you know, like that was the MotoGP. You know, like yeah. So you went to Spa and you had to get into so many got through automatically. They were in the championship, and then everybody else had to qualify. All right.
What was the first year you went to? Like, what's MotoGP?
MotoGP. I went from Honda Britain straight straight into Japan, Honda Japan, which is the GP side of it. So you got to realise them Honda and Honda is two separate things altogether. Honda Britain is one unit, Japan is a completely different. So I went with them as I went straight in, and mal luck, wasn't it? Straight in, and my teammate Freddie Spencer. Nobody could beat him. So it's like normal, isn't it? Always
there's the bar.
Yeah. So your first task in life in racing is beat your teammate. You're not bothered about anybody else. Beat your teammate because he's on the same bike as you. It's in the same team. So that's the target. Beat your teammate. Who do I get? Freddie Spencer that nobody can beat. Oh shit. But it was good because it was good mileage. Good mileage, and see him. How he did it and what he did.
Are you still mates with Freddie now?
Yeah. Good mates still. Yeah, he come to the school a few times. And he run a school in America.
Did he have something in France, or I think there's somebody else?
He tried to do a bit in France as well, but his main one was in America. But it was a different type of school. His was more smaller, related to superbike, not road bike. Where mine was more related to road bike, so all the road lads can have a go at it. So that was my area. So he was smaller groups, more superbike type stuff.
Sorry for interrupting. What age were you then when you first became teammates with Freddie Spencer then?
God, what would I be then? I won't be that old. Middle 20s, I think then. That's middle 20s. Yeah.
That's a fast accelerator. So what age were you when you first got on the tarmac then? You nicked your brother's bike, it went around Cadwell.
The first one was Cadwell Park, and it was on a Guscon Commando I was on. My brother's that they made into a open class one. Instead of production, it was open class. And I had to go on that one at Cadwell Park. But push starts. Bloody, 750 Norton, trying to push start it now, 15. Not very big either, and bump starting one of them things, because there's no keys or starter motor or like that. You had to pull it back on compression, and the only way I could do it is run as fast as I could run till you run that fast, you start going slower because your legs don't keep up. Jump as high as you can, hit the seat as hard as you can, and time the clutch to go in and out because you couldn't leave it out or it would just lock the wheel. And if you missed it, that's it, start again, go off, pull it back, So you always had to make sure that it spun over. So the big one was run as fast as I could in it, jump as high as you could, hit the seat as hard as I could because I wasn't very heavy to get to turn over. But then the clutch had to go in out. You couldn't go out, fire, go, no, in out. You just had to flick it over like a flick start, basically. I think that helped me in the GPs to finish it when the push starts. I got mostly faced away. I had it hard early on, and so the GPs were dead easy. 2-stroke, didn't need hope for that, so it worked well.
So you've gone from 15-year-old, 20-year-old in your 20s.
Yeah, in the 20s, yeah.
Looking at Freddie Spencer going, yes. I've got to beat you, son.
God, yes, I know.
That progression is...
It was horrendous, Again, I didn't really look at it that way. I looked at it, this is where I am, this is where I want to be. I want to now progress forward, But again, it's dead hard. Freddie Spencer was your teammate, and it wasn't just me. Everybody in the paddock wanted to know how we were doing it. At that time, 252 strokes, the 250 lads, Tony Mang and Sarons and all them, they used to laugh at us on 500s. Well, it can't be a very strong class, if somebody like that can just clear off and win everything, all others can't be very good. That's that's what they were saying. Perfect. He actually did both classes, didn't he, Freddie? Won both. Absolutely did exactly the same in the 250.
Brilliant.
So it was right, that shows you what we're up against. They were fantastic.
I think it was just like a natural talent.
It was natural talent for him, yeah. He got so much natural talent and so much self-belief. He'd do stuff on bikes that, you don't even think you could do. His biggest one that I know he gained the most out of is the front end braking. He could actually leave black lines off the front wheel all the way to the corner. He could turn it under with the brake on, slowing it. I tried it. crashed. He had so much feeling and and skill or whatever you want to call it, and it was incredible. And the only reason I know that, I went to a test day in Brazil with him, and there were only me and him on the old track, and the track was actually a bit dusty. And as we got about half a day finished, the dust was leaving lines, and I could see these black lines going into the corners. I thought, well, it's very thin and it's going all the way up to the apex. It can't be the back wheel. Bloody the front wheel off for him, won't it? So obviously then it was perfect, because all I had to do is try and copy it. Nah, headbutt to the floor. So it was got so much skill there he had.
Did you have some good times being teammates like off track? And
Freddie was a bit Joey Dunlop, kept himself to himself in the motorhome. He was it wasn't that he was awkward or whatever. I would just say he was shy or whatever you want to say. He just, he didn't interact very much. When his mechanic was AF Kenimoto, and that's the only person he used to talk to. He used to come out his motorhome, mostly with his helmet on, sit in the corner of the garage. AF Kenimoto would go to him, talk to him, get on his bike, do 3 or 4 laps, come in, sit in the corner, AF would go to him, and then he'd either go out again or he'd walk back to his motorhome. That was it. And it was like there was not much interaction with anything there on that side. But I don't think that was his choice. I think that was just what he was.
Who was the most fun, kind of off track?
Who was the most mental?
Mental? Oh God, there were a lot of them. I would say the most, mental one, Randy Mamola. He would, stuff that he'd go up to was incredible.
Go on, give us a cheeky story. Give us a cheeky one.
Simple one on what I was involved in anyway. America, Daytona, America. First thing you do in America, you go and get the biggest car you've ever known, don't you? Because these big American cars, don't you? Big automatic American car. So we ordered one and got one of these, and we on that. And I'm sitting at traffic lights, all on red, double lane, car outside of me there, and I'm sitting there. Next minute, I'm being pushed through the lights. Randy's behind me in a big American car, butted up to me, and he's got smoke pouring off it, pushing me through lights. I've got the brakes on. I finished up, slammed it in reverse, trying to push him back. He's pushing me into middle through lights. And I'm like that. There's a normal bloke in his normal car sitting outside going like, what the hell's going off here? So I've got my wheels spinning as hard as I got a big American car. Like, he's gone pushing me that way. And Jesus Christ, And that was Randy, who just didn't matter to him, it was crazy.
What was he like on track? Just as crazy, or
it was? Yeah. It was very skillful, and he had I'd say more odd luck than me. He was so close to winning the championship that many times. He got the second place so many times. He could have won it as easy as he lost it.
Would you say Randy's probably the best rider to never win?
Yes. Yeah, he got the closest ever to, he should have won one. He should have won it. It just, whatever happened, it didn't, but he should have done.
Which other riders in history do you think have been like the nearly ones? Like, who's the other best riders that have never been world champion?
I know Randy come straight to mind because I just know how big an effort he put in and all that stuff.
Did Danny Pedrosa ever win?
I don't think Danny did either, no.
He's another one that's probably
He's another
close.
one, yeah. So I'd say probably him and Danny, yeah. Mm-hmm. There's quite a few that got right close, but didn't quite do it, and then you get your other ones, like, I shouldn't say, your Kevin Schwantz, he got all the luck with him and he won straight away. You're like, great, which that could have been Randy, it could have been, Pedrosa. If they'd just gone that little bit more they'd have done it.
It's also mad how back then it was kind of dominated by the Americans, and then there's been a bit of an American drought for a while. I know they've got a few, like Joe Roberts is coming through, and they've got, is it Beaubier? Cameron Beaubier? Yeah. Them two are both in Moto 2, but even after that sort of era, that had Ben Spies, Nicky Hayden, but then there's been this sort of big...
I was about to say, it was Nicky Hayden in GP, wasn't it? But then Ben Spies Worlds, he dominated Worlds, didn't he? But he got into MotoGP, he got a chance, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
How did he fare in that? I can't mind on.
He didn't. No.
He didn't fare, there we are. No, he didn't that.
No, he didn't. That was a bad bit. Whatever reason why, and you never know what the reason is, whether he's not happy with the team or the bike or whatever. There's something wasn't
Leon would have been in World Superbikes when Ben started. It was Ben's first, because Ben and Johnny Ray started on the same year. And Ben Speed won the championship in his first year.
He did.
It's crazy when you think about it. But then never sort of cut it at MotoGP level.
No, he didn't.
I mean, he was good. He was fast, but he just against the competition and like Rossi and stuff. He never sort of stepped
I think what happened there, as you say, I think the luck run his way. Good rider, fast rider, and he just got a bit of luck to go his way where instead of falling off, he saved it and won it. Like it was, a little bit of that. But then when you get, I'd say, more riders in that, as strong as that, when he pushes to get in front of them, he has to push that many more times. So lower averages is not going to happen, so he's having to go beyond what, where he's done for his mileage or whatever he's done, where that first year in there, he probably only had to push a few times over his limit and he got away with it. Yeah. So he won the championship. As I say, Randy could have done that, but he probably did the opposite. He pushed to win the championship, but he probably fell off and lost the points.
Do you know, at what point in your career did you have Leon?
Yeah, good one. Right. Still in MotoGP because they come all everywhere with me. Me and Ann did. Me and his mum. Because all I can remember on that is where we used to take him on the plane, and basically it was simple. We just once we're on the plane again. How I used to work that because again money won't me aim, and I suppose I didn't get that well paid what I should have done because I never had no managers. I just accepted what were happening. So I was with Honda, and Honda always used to pay first class or business class, one or the other. And straight away I said to them, I said, do you mind if I actually change the ticket from business down to economy? And if I can do that, but the money I can then bring my wife and Leon, without it costing me, So I always did that. I just changed my ticket. The money that I saved from that got all three of us there. So we went economy everywhere. And straight away, little tight seats. Leon's there. He ain't got a seat because we were too little. And as soon as the plane took off, all we did, we chucked him up floor. Chucked the coat off him because they wouldn't allow it, you see. Chucked the coat so they couldn't see him, and that was it. And he did that.
Every time he cried, just kept shut up.
Yeah. And in the motorhome, we used to just drive all ourselves, drive to each meeting, three of us, just drive there. From one to the other we used to go to. So we weren't in a big panic. So when, if there were a couple of weekends off, if it was a couple of 1,000 mile, we'd just take more days to do it in, just travel.
Yeah, I bet you've had some mega times.
Yeah.
When Leon was growing up, did you just think, right, I'm going to get him into racing? Or what was your attitude? Just like, let's just see what happens?
I tried to not get him into it, to be honest.
Right?
Yeah, the reason of it is I was in a panic situation where I don't want him to do it because his dad does it. It's normal. The kids always want to do what their dads do if they're, on that side of it. And I was petrified of that happening because I thought if he goes into it because I'm doing it, he's going to do nothing. Because he's not doing it for himself. So I really made it hard for him, to be honest. I never pushed bikes at him at all. He had to go on a paddock bike, not about it. And his first ever bike was 4.5-year-old, and Granby Motors, a local shop, get him one if they put the name on it, because I'll go around all the paddocks, you see. So they get him in this little peewee, and that was his first ever bike, So he got sponsored for his first ever bike, Leon did,
Now that's factory, isn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah. So wow. And he just played about with it and all that stuff. He wasn't that interested. But then he got into motocross, and that come about where I never encouraged him at all. And he just says one day, why aren't I racing, Dad? Why aren't I doing motocross? Because I'd got a motocross team at the time, with about 4 riders. And
What is it? Right, no, sorry, we're going to go back to that. Right there,
yeah, so we've got a motocross team. And when I say a motocross team, it's not quite right. That was, I knew a lot of my friends, and I helped them out. So we made this team. So it helped to get sponsors in. Pull my name to it, get this team together.
Yes.
So we got like 4 riders. It was really running themselves, but on the basis that they can use my name and it's a team, that gets a bit better from, gets a bit of help, and he just said one day, I think he was 8-year-old, he just says, why don't I go motocross, Dad? I said, well, you've never asked, so I'm not bothered, oh yeah, I want to have a go. And I thought, okay, this is it, he wants to have a go, not me, so then I got excited, didn't I? I thought he wants to go on bikes, and so what did I do straight away? I went straight out going 60 Kawasaki motocross, a little one, got a van, and off we went motocrossing, and he loved it. It was, playing about, just normal kid stuff, it lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and I'm excited because I'm coming back and I'm changing the bike and I'm doing all the bits that, like help it out, lowering the seats and all that stuff.
He's ringing Kawasaki UK. Any chance you can have a look at this engine there?
Yeah, so I'm doing all that bit. And then 3 weeks passed and he never said that. He just went, boom, dead. Nothing. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do it. So I just left the bike all clean, ready and all that in the van. And I just left it. And it went about 2 weeks. And he just says, Dad, why aren't we going on motocross? Never asked me. This is 8-year-old. You got to realise, he never asked me, so I didn't bother. Oh yeah, I want doing that. Was the worst thing I ever done. That's because I said you never asked me. Every day from school, Dad, are we motocrossing? Dad, are we motocrossing? Oh Christ! And then it was just like, wow. He just wouldn't stop. And that just told me that really, he just wanted it. He wanted bikes. Yeah.
And what was your initial assessment of the boy then? You thought, his first go at the bike, you thinking the boy's got it, or?
Oh God! Well, one of the first goes, he had to go on the field, and the bloody throttle stuck wide open for whatever reason. I'm squealing to him. He's 8-year-old. He's not really got much under him. I'm shouting, pull clutching. And then he's heading towards fence. I'm saying, jump off. Like shouting at the top of my voice. He's 8-year-old. He managed to get it to stop anyway. But and that's when it made me realise, wow, he could have hit himself. He could have hit himself. Then it was like, okay, he wants to do it, but Christ, I don't really want him to do this. It's like too much pressure.
Did after that moment, did you just see the future unfold before you? You went, this is going to be going motocross, then it's going to be tarmac, and then it's going to be this. It's going to,
I thought it was going to go motocross all the way through because he loved the jumps, the fun. The fun of jumps, twisting the bike and doing all what they do. This supercross type stuff. Absolutely loved it. Didn't want to even know about the tarmac stuff at all. And then we got the race school, didn't we? So we come down to the race school and I got, the road bike CB500 stuff. I said, I go on that if you want. So I jumped on back on him. He's only 12, something like that. So I jumped on the back of him and said, go and set up. Off we went. And biggest thing I learned with him is on the back to get him up to speed. He's that little, he's dead dinky, and I'm behind him. I could physically push him where I wanted, so
lean in.
Yeah, I could go, all right, we're going in here, we're going in there. And then I found out that if I ordered his arms, I could actually then push and pull his arms, to show him where it needed to be, and all that stuff, And it brought him on horrendously fast because breaking points and all that stuff, it was like, and then I got to the point where I said, right, I'll tap you when to brake, and all that, just to, it's like, go, because he won't go deep enough, and I tap brake and all that stuff. And he got that into it, Donington. I tapped him to brake and he didn't. So then I actually thought, shit, we're too fast. This is up into McLean's. He's little. I shoved him over the handlebars and grabbed the bars, so, we got through and round it. And he says, what rope? I says, but you're getting too fast. He says, no, I won't. Oh, Jesus, so in his head, he walked too fast, but it was a good way of, showing him around and all that stuff. It was good fun. He was pittled off with me because I shoved him and grabbed the bars.
It's my life we're playing here with son as well. No, it's yours.
I know in Jonathan Ray's autobiography, he talks about the crossover from motocross to road racing. The first experience he had was coming to your school. Do you have any other riders that have you've got into tarmac race and all like?
Not got in, but we've had a lot of people at the school. I mean, Jeremy Williams, he was always there.
Wow.
Johnny Ray, John Reynolds, Melandri, he come a lot, to the school. Yeah. So there's a lot of riders, coming, because I think the main bit was even when there was established riders, they come to the school because it's a road bike. So you're not doing any setup, you're not doing anything. The tyres what they are. And it brought them back to racing how it was when they first started, and it was fun. You know, like, we're not bothered about lap times, we're not bothered about a tyre or pressure or anything. We're just going to ride it and we're going to have fun on it, you know. And that was the school, you know. So Johnny Ray used to come, love it. Jeremy Williams used to come all the while, and just, it was a massive play day back to what it should be, you know, not the pressure of like having to win, having to qualify, having to do this. Nah, all gone. Back to this normal, you know, riding a bike bit, you know. And I think that's what everybody liked, you know. Yeah.
Have you had anyone at your school or come through your school and they've been a shock that they've, to be blunt, come successful? Or succeeded more than what you thought they could have?
There's a few that's done good, yes, on that. As I say, the Johnny Ray is the obvious. You know, we had to go to the school and look what he did. You know, like, but I'm not saying we did that. He would have done it anyway, but he did come through the school and played with it and all that stuff. So it's not. I'm not taking credit for that. It's built itself up, you know, for that. But yeah, Melandri used to come, and I think it was more bringing them back, riders back to reality and fun. You know, we never went to go like, let's see who can go fastest, even though that's what we did. You know, like that in his head, that's what we did. But it won't. You know, like it was just more fun.
At what point did you stop racing? And kind of, it was then like Leon's.
Yeah.
Was there much of a time where neither, like before Leon started racing properly and you'd retired?
No, Leon's first race was scooter racing. He had to go. So I'd been doing motocross. He'd had 2 bad runs at motocross, 2 years on trot. First year, he'd got the British Championship. He'd got it. Go to Ireland. All he's got to do is finish in, you know, the points, and he'd got it. Went and fell off and broke his leg, didn't he? Quite bad frame on it and all that crap.
Was that one of the pins in your collection? There you go, you see.
Yeah, so that's one of them. Yeah. And
that's one of them.
That's when I felt so guilty. You know, I thought, Christ, he just put all this effort in, all this practice of the thing. He's going to be a British champion motocrosser here. And it just went. You know, in other words, the failure, you know, because the last round, it broke his leg. And on top of that, it was a real bad break. You know what I mean? It wasn't just you know, okay, put yourself in a pot and away. It was a serious job. We finished up, I had to get a private bloody plane, ambulance plane, to Nottingham General.
Wow.
Because in Ireland, the hospital that did it, they were a bit of an arse, to be honest, because they didn't agree with young lads motocrossing, parents, letting them motocross. You know, that was the surgeons and everything. So there was a bit like, they wasn't very happy with us.
We're not doing it because of this.
You know, why you were letting your lad, you know, damage him like this and all this stuff. You know, so they weren't very happy with it. And but what they did, he'd had a lot of bumps and breaks before on motocross, and that night when he'd done it, I'm with him, you know, sitting at the side of the bed on his mammy's, and he's saying, something's not right, Dad. He says, the pain's horrendous, you don't get this much pain. He says, something wrong. And I phoned the surgeon I knew at Nottingham, Colton his name was, the top one. And he says, what you can do, he says, just get him here. He says, if he's getting that much pain, there shouldn't be, not after the surgery, what he's done and all the stuff. And they put him in a pot, you know. So I took him out of that hospital straight away, got him in a plane, flew him to East Midlands, straight from East Midlands, straight to Nottingham. And the surgeon were waiting there for him. And basically, it's a good job he did, because he says if he hadn't done that, if he'd left him there at night, he'd have lost his leg. They put the pot on too tight, stopped all the blood.
Never.
Yeah. And he was the top surgeon. He wasn't just like, you know, it was it. It was the highest rank you could get. And he just said, if you hadn't had him there, he said he would have definitely lost his leg. I thought, wow, you know, like, frightened me to death.
Yeah.
He says he got him on the table, cut the pot off, cut his leg open. He says, and his muscle jumped out. It was that pressured that hard. His muscle physically jumped out his leg. Yes, but then he sorted it all out, obviously, and all that. And all this, obviously, I'm feeling so guilty now. You know, like going, Jesus Christ, my lad's here, bloody 12-year-old. You know, like, and he's going through all this lot. You know. Anyway, they patched him all up, and he's in Nottingham now. And this is where I really, I don't know, felt so bad. Well, you probably heard the story before, but because I've told it a few times. I'm in there, so we're having turns. I'm stopping him one night, and I'm stopping the next night in the bedroom with him. Yeah, you know, like overnight. And That's Martin. I'm stopping there overnight and I'm talking to him and all that. And I thought, I can't let him do this. He's laying here in pain, broken leg, 12-year-old. So I says to him, Leon, I says, to be honest, he says, I think we've got to pack up with motocross. And he says, what? He says, I made it up. I says, I ain't got enough money for it. I said, we're running out of money. I says, I can't do it. So I made a bit. I said, so we're going to need to stop. I said, also, I says, you're hating yourself too much. I said, you actually had a lot of crashes and all this stuff. I said, you're hating it too much. I was trying to completely put him off, and he went quiet, never said up to me. We changed over. The man, and this man then stopped that next night and I come home. And after Anne come back, she says, Leon's told me to ask you something. And I said, what's that? He says, if you give him one more chance, he says he won't crash as much and we won't practice as much to save some money. That's what he says to his mum to tell me. I'm not joking. I was like, what am I doing? He wants it so much. For him to say that, I thought, nah. I just dug in then. I thought, anything he wants, I'll do it. From then on, as much as I could help him, I helped him. Basically, I thought, he's not doing it because he wants to do it. That's his life. That's the way he wants to go. But I felt so bloody bad. Me trying to put him off, and he's coming back to me saying that I won't cost you as much money, I won't practice as much, and I won't crash as much if you just let me one more year. I thought, wow, yeah.
With like Leon's racing, do you have limits in your own mind? You're a TT racer.
Yeah.
Macau Grand Prix, you would. Was it 6 out of 6?
6 out of 6
Macau, that is
So
wow.
Have you never raced at Macau and not won?
No.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
I was the first one to win on a 4-stroke. It was always, again, the GP 2-stroke lads, the MotoGP lads with the 2 strokes. And I went with Honda Britain with the 4-stroke, and I managed to beat, it was the Japanese GP lads that were there, and I managed to beat him. I think he would have beat me, but I qualified in front of him and I got a better start than him and he caught me up. And I can hear him going into the hairpin. At next minute, I heard that sound that you never want to hear. Behind you, oh Christ! I'm going into the hairpin. I'm just like that. And the next minute, he comes sliding past me. But if he hadn't done that, he probably might have beat me at that time.
Bloody hell!
Yeah, but no, I got 6 out of 6. I even won on the Elf there. Yeah,
bloody hell!
They had some great times over there.
Yeah, that was good.
What was scarier to ride? TT.
The TT, Macau? No, TT.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Macau. It's still a long circuit, but you got to know it like a short circuit. So there's nothing come as a surprise. Like there were no surprises to it. The TT, until I got 3 years under my belt, there was always something that you wasn't sure about. Like you'd be in a section where it's flat out, you should be hanging on to 6th gear, but your hand went the other way. I know it is, but no. Like where you get Macau, it's not that far around, so you know exactly what's there, what's coming, what's happening, so you can push a bit harder, basically. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So about them limitations when it comes to Leon, he said, I want to do the TT, Macau, I want to do Scarborough, I want to do Northwest. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he would probably have another broken leg.
Right.
What, from you?
Yes. So in other words, no.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
But
so
the biggest thing on that, he don't actually want to do them.
Yeah.
In his head, it's not that, I'm holding him back. He don't want to do them. He just says no. He says, Isle of Man will take too long to learn. He says, and he doesn't like having to ride a little bit under, which you have to on the road circuits. You can ride 120% on short circuits. You've got, place to slide off. You've got air fencing. You've got everything. There, you cannot ride 120% because the risk of that lap and all the things that can, that's unknown would catch you. You can't. So you've always got to be riding slightly under that, even though you're riding it at its strongest that you can.
Yeah.
Because you can't go to what you call short circuit stuff. Short circuit, you won't last 4 laps. Because the limit on a short circuit is so close to crashing, and you cannot do that on a road circuit.
Yeah. Sorry, did we get to When did you retire? What year did you retire?
Not sure what year it was, but it was. I come back to England when I'd done MotoGP. I don't know the years now, but I did MotoGP anyway, and then I did the Elf, I did Suzuki, in the MotoGP stuff, you know. And then after Suzuki, I come back to England on the Norton. And to be fair, in my head, it was like, okay, I'm not going to get to the top of MotoGP, but now I want to enjoy myself. I still love riding bikes. So to get the opportunity to come back and ride the Norton in England, English bike, English crowd, I thought, me riding on that, fantastic. So come back to England and rode the Norton, which that was good, But I think I got a bit of I don't know. I've been doing GPs on GP bikes and all that stuff. To come back to England, I just took it as a lower level, from where I was,
Well, it is a tier system.
I thought it was lower level. But what you don't realise is it's a lower level on machinery, but not so much on riding. So your riding's still as strong. So I dropped back to this Norton, expecting to wipe the floor with everybody, basically. The first race we did at Brands Hatch, they set off, and I'm in like about, 8th, 9th position, and checker flag come out. They're so short of racers. I thought, shit, what happened there? I was still about 8th or 9th, and then I'm sort of building up, but race is done, and it made me realise then is I still got to ride as hard as what I would at MotoGP, because purely the level of bikes come down a bit, so you had to find that out of it. So and the Norton was very different.
And did you just do that for like a year or two or something?
I did Norton a couple of years. I broke my leg on the Norton. That was Snetterton, 6th gear. The gearbox locked up on it. Threw me over the top. And then chucked me in front of the bike. And I'm sliding down the track as happy as a lark, sliding, can see everything happy, slide, okay, I'm going to get some grazers, but, it's not a bump, And then next minute, a great big black shadow come over my head, the bike, landed straight on my leg. Bottom of the leg, broke the leg. But it didn't just break it, did it? The bloody thing broke, bone come out, and it filed 2 inch off on tarmac, filed it away. Yeah.
2 inch?
2 inch off the bone, straight off, all the way down the tarmac. So I got to the end, and my legs folded back here, and there's a bone sticking out with 2 inch gone off it.
How did they fix that? Just a rod?
The rod's in the museum.
In the museum?
Yeah.
But the bone will just naturally gap.
Yeah, so all they did, they drilled a hole in my knee. The surgeon that I've told you that I'm unbelievable. Drilled a hole in my knee, put a rod down it, stuck a rod down and spaced it out and put 2 screws in the bottom, the antle, and 2 in the top, stop it rotating. Otherwise it would have rotated on a round rod. And they just fired it in that, left it open, because that was weird, that war. I was in hospital, I think it was 3 weeks, and first week, they just left it completely open, nothing on it. So you could physically see the end of the bone and the bar and everything. You could wiggle your toes, you could see everything moving.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus. Wow. I thought this is never going to heal. It's like one of these you see on these films, these bionic men type thing, you see a bar and freaking bits. And then it only took a few days and it sounds bad, it looked like bloody gangrene. All the fuss comes over it, and it seals it. And every time they used to come in, and because it was like a greeny fuss that come over, they used to come in and get a bloody hard brush and scrub it off. So newness would come again, the redness and that. Every bloody night, I was dreading them coming through the door, knocking on the door, because I knew what they're coming for.
Mr. Haslam.
Jesus, But I did that in there for 3 weeks, and they did all that. And once it had done most of the healing, then they put bone graft to it. So they took a load of bone off my hip and chucked it all in the front, and did a bone graft to it. Incredible. But the mistake they did, they didn't get it on around the back. So if you visualise a straight bone, it was a straight bone, a 2 inch gap, and all the bone graft was there at the front, sort of like a C opposite way, and down. There was nothing in between, because when I seen it on the x-rays, when he'd done it all and I was walking about on it, I talked to him and I says, am I all right to say jump off a step? Because I can see my bones not in line, it's just got a big lump in one end on it. And he says, yeah, so you never break it. He said, do what you want. I thought, wow. Yeah. But even when I got the pin in, I was a bit panicking. I was thinking, I've got a pin in here. And I said to him, what happens? I says, if I fall off and I bend the pin? You know, I snapped my leg and bend the pin. And they were dead good, you know, the surgeon. He says, it don't matter, does it? He says, well, just put another one in. I said, but it goes in the centre of your bone, you see. I said, well, how the hell are you going to get the pin out? It's bent. He said, no, it's easy. He says, I'll just cut it and pull the 2 bent bits out. They were like, what you do in your wake shop? like, if you're doing something in your wake, he said, yeah, no, I'll just cut it where it's bent and pull both bits out.
He's got his apron on, tab on.
Yeah, I know. They're like, wow.
Off you go.
I tell you what, it gave me so much confidence to say, you know, when he talked to you, it was so like, yeah, it's not a problem. You know, like, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And then I guess going from like focusing on your own racing career to then sort of bringing Leon through the ranks, and from the sort of CB 500s, Leon had a little bit like yourself, had a very fast acceleration ride to the pinnacle of the sport, and was in GPs when he was he about 17 or 18, riding a 500cc two-stroke.
Two-stroke, the hardest bike to ever ride.
Was that that a bit mad as a dad?
The problem I got there is you never miss opportunity, and opportunities arised for him where he could move on. So he did 125 in England. From 125 he got a MotoGP ride on 125 on a Talijet, which thought factory bike, worst thing we ever did. They was new into the sport, didn't know what the hell they was doing. Absolutely nearly wrecked him. Kept seizing up, chucking him off. I'd had a bit of experience with two-strokes and all that, and I knew it would happen. So my job there, because it's the factory, I'm not a lad, I'm a dad, interfering dad. So I didn't, you know, I'm standing back, didn't do it. So I'm seeing my lad go out on that bike, knowing it's going to chuck him off. I can't sail, you know, because anything I'd say, I'd be the normal motocross dad, you know. So that was hard, knowing that at Suzuka Wongo, on the two-strokes, the Itallijets, or any two-stroke, you had what you call a detonation light. And that tells you if it flashes a lot, it means it's too lean, not enough fuel, it's going to seize. And this light, on his warm-up lap at Japan Suzuka, the light was flashing that much, it looked like it was on continuous. And the chief mechanic, and I said, you know, I'm on the grid, I'm saying, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to put a bigger jet? Oh, no. Piece of tape covered the light up. Just covered the light up so we couldn't see it. Third lap, 6th gear. Absolutely end over end. Lock solid.
I bet that was terrifying as a dad.
I knew. I'm on the grid. Can't do it. I'm going, wow. You know, like, I know what's going to happen. You know, like, as soon as he didn't come round, I thought, I know what's happened. I just hope that it's locked up and he's just come to a stop.
Slid off, yeah.
Nah, big fast sweep.
What?
Yeah. So, yes, I had the opportunity to shove him forward in a 125 class where he'd been on 125s in England. Big mistake, because the team wasn't, even though it was a factory team and you can say, oh, what you want about it, never did hope. And I did the same thing, but I didn't give him enough experience. I got him from there into 500 twins, GP stuff. Again, Rossi. You know, when Rossi was coming through, you know, like, but I mean, Leon was like way lower, you know, not on that, because I can always remember one of the things he'd probably tell you about it as well. It was at one of the circuits with Rossi there, and he'd just come from 125s and all this, so loads of corner speed and all that stuff. And he went out there and he come in, he says, oh, Dad, he says, I can't believe it. He says, I nearly took Rossi out. I says, what? He says, he is shit on corner speed. He says, it's useless, he's got no corner speed. I said, oh, right. I says, what lap time's he done? Oh, yeah, he's 4 seconds faster than me. There's probably a reason for that, you know, then why I ain't got that corner speed there. You know, like, so he's trying to tell me that he's nearly hit Rossi because he's got no corner speed. Well, Leon's come from a 125 where you had to carry shitloads of corner speed. And obviously, the big bike, you stop and turn, fire him out the other end.
Yeah.
So that was new to Leon, but he was believing that Rossi was shit. He got no corner speed. And I said, yeah, but just get your sheet. Look. You know, like,
so his free garage is down, son. You just go tell him he's over there.
Have you always been like sort of in all the way through Leon's career? Have you always been the sort of spotter type figure with your cameras and like helping him?
All the while, all the way through. I learned for every team, because I've been in every team I go to, you have to show that you're not a motocross dad. So you have to do nothing. You know, stat back don't talk, don't denote. Even when you know this thing's a little bit art, you can't say oh. And I learned that dead early on. Noting, because they're all expecting the motocross dad to come in. My son's the best. Why aren't you doing this for him? Why aren't you doing that for him? So I didn't do any of that because you'd get the reputation of it. But no, I helped him out as much as I could. So I always used to talk to him after the practice. He'd practice, then we'd clear on, and he'd say, "What do you think?" I've been watching him with cameras. I say, "Well, okay, such and such is doing it like this, or you're coming in too fast, or you're not being fast enough, whatever it was, or your line's wrong or something." So I get him little hints, and you always hate to give him. You can't tell him how to ride; it's impossible. You can just tell him what other people's doing, and can you do that? They might go, well, I can't go any faster through that corner because my bike won't do it because the bike's not set the same. But I can probably brake harder going in, so I'll gain on the way in, but I can't get through it as fast. So you never ever say, go faster here or do that. Yeah. You just say, well, you're losing a bit on brakes or you're losing a bit on entrance, a bit here. And then it's down to him to see if he can, compensate or do something about the job. So that's how we always work.
Do you know, over all of the years of being at Leighton's dad, what's been your proudest moment?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. To be fair, he's not here, so I'm not going to tell him that because I never bull him up at all. Like
a dad, you mean?
Yeah, never bull him up at all. As an example, I think the proudest moments it's continuous, is determination, is will to win. It's everything. I think that's the proudness I get for him. If he falls off and hurts himself, I know for a fact he's brave enough, or whatever you want to call it, confident enough, he can go just as hard again. He's got that willpower, that confidence. That's what I'm proud about. He's like, wow. I'm the opposite end of it. I've never ever given him any bullshit confidence, if you know what I mean. I've always, anytime he comes in, I will never tell him how good he was on brakes or whatever. I'll tell him how bad he was somewhere else, because that's where he needs to improve. He doesn't need to improve where he's good. That's done. That's finished. But if he's lacking somewhere else, that's the first thing I'll tell him. And it was Alton Park once. He'd gone through a bad spell with that IntelliJet 125 stuff, crashing a lot. So I had to then pull him back to England and do some England rounds to get his confidence back, because he didn't know if it would, that IntelliJet was chucking him off every meeting. So I thought, all right, come back to England, got my own bike, did some British Championship rounds on it. Went to Alton Park, and I know he could have won the race easy. So he went out there, and you've got to realise he'd been finishing near the back in the GP 125 GP stuff. Went to Alton Park. I was happy as out after the race because he'd had a big battle leading it, and then the last lap he got mugged, and he dropped a third. Yeah, they shoved him out. Basically, shoved him out. Yeah, and he come in, and we in the holding area, and Anne's there laughing, smiling, because he's got a result. He's coming something there, and Anne went mad at me because I went up to him and I says, and he's looking at me. I think to give him praises, and I went, "That's shit." And he looked at me and I says, "You shouldn't even be there." I says, "You should have been half a lap clear." I says, "You're riding to what they riding. You're not riding to what you can ride." I says, "You can ride faster than that. I know you can." I says, "So as far as you saying that they shoved you out the last lap, that's your fault." I says, "Because you shouldn't even have been there." And this is like the biggest comeback from his confidence.
And there's Dad.
Yeah. I says, "Look," I says, "don't copy them." I says, "You're copying them." I says, "You're going out there, you're copying them." I says, "Ride what you know. Ride the bike how you feel it can be rode, the limits of the bike, this." I said, "Do that," I says, "and see what happens." So Anne, his mum, she got me to one side. She went ballistic at me. "Jesus Christ, you just had a result from doing all this and all that." I said, "Look, I don't care. I know he's better than that." And he went out next race, Alton Park. He won it with half a lap. I says, and it's just purely, he didn't copy them. He copied them and battled with them. I said, "Don't, just ride the bike how you know it should be rode. Forget that. And he just cleared off and won it easy. So it made up for it. Because then I said, he come in, then looked at me and I says, that's what I'm on about. You know, like, I know your level is better than what that was. You know.
What was the best bit of advice you got? And who from?
I told you the early on with Barry Sheen, calm it down when I was too airy.
Yeah.
You know, too airy and crashing a lot. That was not at the time, I didn't take it. But after I realised, it was good advice. You know, so that was, I would say that was the best one I got, because that's when you get to the point where you think you're better than everybody. So you push, you make mistakes, crash, and you're pushing too hard. You know, instead of dropping it back a bit, getting a bit more mileage under you. When I say mileage, laps, I'm not talking meetings. You know, and then trying to push it a bit further after that. Well, when you're doing that, you don't. You go out there young. You go out there, second lap, you're trying as hard as you can go, aren't you? You're just trying to find, you know, and the limits come at you very fast, you know, like, and the limits, because they come at you fast, you mostly cock up, you slip up, you know, where Barry Sheen says, no, he says, just go at it a bit slower, build it. And that was what I would say the best advice I've ever known, you know. And when you see the up-to-date riders, you know, your good riders, they're happy to sit in 4th, 5th, and they'll just get faster and faster, and then they'll be on it at the end. You know, so the advice they realise that early. You know, where but I'd say that one was a good one for me.
And these days, do you travel around with Leon quite a lot?
Mostly everywhere. Yeah, very rare that I'm not there on a test day or whatever. Again, sometimes sounds bad. I'm not needed. But I think Leon just wants me there as a comfort sometimes, because Leon, to be fair, he knows lots. He knows he's been in it a long time. He knows setups, he knows and all that stuff. But then there's always the unknown when you're on the track. He'll get to a point where, you know, he's stuck on a lap time, and he wants a bit of, I won't say guidance, like, well, where is it? You know, is it brakes? Is it the bike? You know, is it the tyres? You know, and then he'll look to me like, you know, what, you know, where is it? What's happening? You know, why aren't that 0.2 or 3 quicker? You know, and so again, I'm still in this mode of I never give him praise. I'm only telling him where he can probably improve himself.
Yeah,
I don't tell him how to improve it. I just say it's happening in this area.
Yeah,
you know, and it's down to him if he can do out about it.
What do you think's been the best as over a season? What do you think the best season Leon's ever had, performance-wise?
He did really well on he's done well on the superbike stuff. You know, the British. He won the British, obvious, which took him a bit to do.
Yeah.
Mainly because I've moved him on too quick. Well, too quick. I've moved him on because the opportunities have been there. You know, the 4-cylinder Honda was there, the 2-cylinder Honda was there, the 4-cylinder Honda was there. So because it was there, I went, go. Because, okay, you're going to start at the back again, but
you're going to learn.
It's the next, you're learning from people now that's like better than where you've been, you know, and it's the next step up. So I think the hardest bit on that when you're saying that is I never let him get what I call win championships and stuff. I never let him get to that stage. Before we actually got to the point where if he goes in it next year, he will win it. No, moved on. So he always got the bloody step. So he did well to keep his motivation there. Yeah. You know, because he didn't have the one, oh God, I'm 125 champion 3 times or Moto3. He never got any of that. You know, like it was always no step up. I
think for me, you know, when he was on the Suzuki in World Superbikes.
Yes.
And he almost won the championship one year on the Suzuki.
That was the best ride he's ever done.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, that's what you're after, yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, the best ride I have ever seen him ride, where went to Phillip Island on the Suzuki, and I'm not joking. He even come in early on practice. He didn't do all the practices because he says, no need, Dad. He says, I'm all right. He said, everything's good. He says, confident with it. And he obviously won it. He won the race there as well. And it was just one of them jobs where he knew that, you know, it got it in hand. It got it in hand, and it was like, I think the bike, the team, he just knew how to ride it, whatever you want to call it. You know, he was good on it. You know, and that year, he was so, I don't know, pleased. I'm not pleased. He was so confident with it. You know, he knew that it wouldn't sometimes win, but then you go to the next one, he'll know that it's going to win. You know, like he got that level, you know, which was fantastic.
Do you know, as a more, we've got a few Patreon questions, by the way, which I'll get on to, but just a question from me. Do you know, just in general, like if you think about how sort of satisfied you are with what you've done in your life and like how things have gone, it's very easy, and every single person always thinks like, I could have done, they always think like things could have been a bit better and things. Like say out of 10, 1 to 10, how sort of satisfied are you right now with like how
everything's gone? Yeah. Everybody can say it. In my career, for me, you're never satisfied. Because I wanted to win every race, every MotoGP. You know, and I struggled. I think my best result was 4th, joint 4th with Wayne Gardner in the championship. That was my best result. I got a lot of rostrums, got second spots, but I never actually won a GP. You know, which that was my disappointment. You know,
you had a pole position, didn't you?
Pole positioned, beat Freddie Spencer. Pole position.
Beat me teammate.
Yeah, beat me teammate. Pole position, everything. Yeah, and you've always got the odd luck stories, haven't you? I mean, that one when I got pole position, it was 3-cylinder Hondas. So confident. I'd got that race easy, no problem whatsoever. Set off, pulled off a lap on everybody. You know, over half distance, still pulling on them, and then I've got it. I've won it. It's done, finished. You know, Spencer was second. I've got it, dead easy. One of them days, this is my first win. I've got it. Friggin' temperature gauge. Climbed up. Kept getting higher and higher. The bike got slow and slower and slower. And then it finished up across the line, it seized. But across the line, but it seized. Yeah. So like, wow, okay, I would have won that one confident in me, but I didn't win it. You know, problem. South Africa in the wet, 3-cylinder Honda again. I was that lucky where I'd been practicing 2 weeks before that, and it was absolutely pickling down with rain. You know, like, so I practiced in the wet, you know, I don't know, 3-4 days, you know. So I'd got so good in the wet there, couldn't have waited better, could it? GP come there, I'm in the GP, qualified wherever, middle pack or whatever it was. Just we're going to the line, nobody's had no wet, boom, rain, nobody's had no expectors. Thought, right, I know where I am here, you know. So they let everybody about 4 laps and then straight to line. Oh, Jesus, I set off, middle pack, the bike won't run. It's misfiring, it's doing all this. I'm thinking, oh shit, it cleared. As soon as it cleared, coming through like mad. I mean, really fast. You know, like, because I knew it wet. I knew there were rivers going across or everything, and I knew how to cross them and everything. So I'm something like about 3 seconds a lap faster than Eddie Lawson that were leading it. Coming through like mad. I got about 8 laps in, like first turn, started to lay into it because it kept misfiring and coming back. Laying it in, bloody thing seized up, didn't it? Oh. Come round, down I went. And the worst bit on that, this is HRC Honda, Japan. Come in and, sorry Ron San, they said, sorry about that. You was coming through. But you could see in the eyes that they thought I was going too fast. That's why I've crashed. Yeah. And I went, we're behind the garage doors now, so you don't know. And I says, no, I says, your bike's seized. What? I said, your bike's seized. Are you sure? I says, sure, your bike's seized. I said, won't me. I says, the bike's seized. Oh, okay. Right, and it's 3-cylinder. You got 2 on the top, 1 underneath. Yeah. So I'm in the garage, because they don't believe me. You know, they just think, because I've got like 3 seconds on the leader coming through, you know, so they're just thinking, it's going too quick, you know. They just made it seized, you know, that's it. Pulled the top 2 off. Perfect. Nothing wrong. I thought, oh, shit. I'm going in my head now.
Well,
Did it
felt
seize?
like, it felt like
it seized. It definitely seized. It locked up on the way in. I'm going like, I know it has. Bottom cylinder. They pulled it off. Best thing I've ever seen. Alloy all stuck to the head. Seized up. And that's the first time I've wanted a bike to be seized. You know, like, because all the Japan there, and they went, as soon as they knew then what that had caused it, the Japanese are so passionate. They come to me, arms right. Oh, sorry, Ron Sam Royce Armstrong. It's our fault, not your fault. I thought, I know that. You thought it were me. You know, like, yeah, so there was like real apologetic. So again, that's another one that I might have won. Yeah.
So if you just your career, say how satisfied
my career,
yeah, like 1 to 10.
I think I got to probably about 8, to be honest, 1 to 10. I think I got to.
Can I just tell you, most people listening to this, there'll be like loads of people around your age that are like hero worshipped you.
Yeah.
And like they'll just think that's crazy. But I think everyone. Do you know, if you ask most people how satisfied they are with their life right now, I think a lot of people would say between 7 and 8.
Yeah.
I don't think many. Doesn't matter who you are. I don't think many people would say 9 or 10.
You always feel like you could have done better.
Yeah.
You know, you always feel that way. So yeah, you put as much effort as you can in. So you do put, you know, you can't put no more effort in. But as far as being satisfied, you always want to be better. I think if you did a Johnny Ray, win all them championships, you still won't be satisfied. You want one more.
Yeah,
you know, like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, don't you? So I think that's the level of it.
Yeah, I'll just get.
While he's loading up questions there, you got any good Macau party stories?
Well, my last one I won was on the Elf, wasn't it? Not party stories, it was the race. So it's not a party story, but it was the actual race. And Sage Rossi was the manager of the Elf project. Well, the Elf project, it didn't really get as good as what we thought. You know, it was all right, you know, but it didn't get into MotoGPs with everybody and all that. So yeah, okay. So they went to Macau with me, and this is the proper Elf. It's not a copy. It's a proper Elf. And I won the race. I think it was Joey Dunlop was second, and it must have been a lap and a half to go. My board come out because I've got a big lead on the Elf, and it's like, wow, it's going to be the Elf's big win, Macau GP. And the manager says Ross has got the board out, hanging over the barrier, showing up and going like, slow down. In other words, there's so much wanting the win, you know, because it's one more lap to go. Slow down. And anyway, I come round and I finished up. I crossed the line, and as I crossed the line, Joey Dunlop passed me, like half a wheel, but I just crossed the line. So I beat him with half a wheel, and I'd got nearly half a lap on him, you know. And anyway, I come around to the manager, Sage Rossi, and he says, I didn't mean you to slow down that much. He says, God, you nearly lost it. You know, but he's happy that he'd done that. And I'm sort of there looking. I says, no, Sage, there's no cameras or all that. I says, Sage, the handlebar snapped off on the brake, the last lap. You know, before I got to the line, the handlebar snapped off. The brake bit, it snapped completely in my hand.
With the throttle,
brake, everything's in my hand like that. It's just snapped off the bar. That, you know, I had to do like 1.5 laps. That's why I didn't slow down what he says. I couldn't go any quicker. You know,
to just jam the handlebar.
I jammed it in the bloody fairing there, leaned on the tank, and just had to put it. The hardest bit, but to accelerate, you had to roll your thumb, put your hand on top of the brake, and roll it round. You know, to make it go. You know, like, and then when you tried to brake, you had to lean on the tank because you just fell over up front because you got no to hold on, you know. And I did 1.5 laps, but because I got a big lead, I was slow. Joey caught me all the way back up again, and we crossed the line. I beat him with frigging nothing hardly. And he gave me the biggest, look, you shouldn't have slowed down that. I said to him, handlebar snap. And I'm trying to be quiet because this is the Elf project, you know, like, so we don't want any bad publicity, I'm thinking. As soon as he knew that, he went straight up to the bike, got the handlebar out, and showed no press. Oh, look here, we've won it with one handlebar. You know, like, opposite to what I was trying to do. You know, like, I'm like, you know, you're normal. You know, you don't get bad publicity. You know,
torn the line.
But yeah, but no, he freaking needed. He got it and said, "Look here," he says, "We've still won. Look, one handlebar." You know, like, yeah.
Class.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a few Patreon questions. But first one, NK. Is there any plans in the future for yourself or even Leon to start up the race school again?
Good question.
Yes, there is. There's quite a few happening. It won't be as it was. So. First, Jonathan Palmer, you know, he's on about trying to start it up. So he's going to be the financial backer, and we're going to sort of run it for him. That's one plan, but it's not a definite thing.
Yeah.
I want to go to Ireland and do some over in Ireland where I'll take a few instructors and you bring your own bikes. So it's not a track day, but it's more you bring your own bike and we sort that. So that's another thing that's...
Is that Bishop's Court or...?
It's where the sunflower is, the
Bishop's Court, yeah.
Bishop's Court. We're on about doing that, so we're talking about that at the moment. I'd like to do that because that's like I'd enjoy that.
That would go down a treat, because we get a lot of Irish listeners, and they'll be like, "Oh, you can't let them down now, Ron. You can't let them down."
No. Well, that's I'm hoping to do that. I've had that much on with Leon's team at the moment. We haven't had a chance to do, to expand to that.
We haven't even mentioned the whole affinity thing, have we?
No, the affinity and all that. I'm doing.
Keeps you busy.
I'm helping a lot with Leon on that side because Leon's riding himself, so I'm trying to take a bit of weight load off him, basically. Yeah. And the other one is we've got a big offer from abroad to do one.
Brilliant.
A massive one. I can't say much about that yet, but it's big. It's government funded. They want us to go over there and teach them how to ride bikes because they're getting too many deaths on the roads. So, and that's like, got to look at that because it's a massive project.
We've got passports, we're available.
Yes.
If you need any instructors.
Yeah. So there is three projects that we're looking at. At the moment we've got to get Leon's team a bit more self-running. And then when that does, I will start looking at the other end.
Class. Brilliant.
Never a dull moment at the Haslam household.
Jesse Mortimer, favourite track to ride a 500 two-stroke?
Ooh. 500 two-stroke. Donington's a nice one, 500 two-stroke, because you've got some nice flowing corners, change directions and stuff like that, which is nice. So I'd put Donington. Donington or Assen. Yeah, Assen's nice. Assen's a beautiful track to ride. Between them two.
Class. Yeah. Good question by Sam Downs. Do you fancy doing the Ducati Cup?
Imagine how that would go down. Ron Haslam's return to Ducati. Yeah. Oh, that would be mental.
I wouldn't mind it. I think the biggest hurdle I'd get is actually Anne, the missus. She would be a bit upset about it because she wants me to just retire, basically. But no, I'm not ready for retiring yet. So it's an option. Yeah.
Class.
At the moment, I am going on a bit. So the old joints and bones ate a bit.
If there was a Ducati, say a Ducati Tri-Options team that were listening and they've got a ride and they were would you actually be up for maybe doing a wild card or doing?
Yeah. Wild card and that'd be good.
I'd absolutely love to see
It'd be nice.
That.
Yeah.
We'll never be allowed back on the farm. Anne's going to go, you two off. That's it. The phone's just going to ring and ring and ring and ring and ring.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. He's even smiling thinking about it. Get this man on Ducati.
Keith Fletcher, he's got 3 questions. First one is Ron's favourite bike he rode in the days. Your favourite 500 that you rode?
3-cylinder Honda. It was the NS, not the RS. RS was the production bike of what you could buy. NS was the factory bike, and it was slightly different on the frame. Made it a lot nicer to ride. So 3-cylinder Honda.
In the 1980s, who would you say over that era, who were the 3 best 500 riders?
There was a lot, to be fair, there in the 80s. So that would be Lawson in that area, wouldn't they? Eddie Lawson in the 80s. Yeah. Eddie Lawson I respected the hell out of Eddie Lawson because you get riders that's got natural ability and you've got riders that work at it. They work to get the result they're after. Eddie Lawson was one that knew where he wanted. He'd change his bike, alter his bike, and get where he wanted to be. So Lawson comes high up there. 80s. Rainey. I know we have his accent. Wayne Rainey. He was just a hard rider. He would push till he made it. So Rainey was a big one for me as well. And the 80s would be Spencer as well, isn't he? Because I was a teammate. Spencer was a natural, so them 3 was top of the list job, all because they're all slightly different in the ways, Yeah.
It's interesting how you've put it like that. You've got the natural ability and the lads who work at it.
Yeah.
Which one were you, in your opinion?
I had a slight bull-headedness as far as if it weren't fast enough, I'd go faster, which I'd made mistakes, which was wrong, but I didn't know at the time, so that was that. And to finish up, I would just try and ride the bike on how it wants to be rode. So when you say natural ability, I try and adapt to the bike. So instead of trying to make the bike better, I'd try and get around it. So when you say natural ability, I'd say there's a little bit of that trying to get into it. So yeah, my mistake was sometimes if I wasn't quick enough or I needed to be 0.23s or whatever quicker, my mistake, I would just do it, not knowing what the end result was going to be. Which that was a mistake really. I should have changed the bike a little bit, got a bit more confidence, or done something to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I've got to go quicker and that's it.
The last question, Mike Orton. So we've got a bit of a running theme on the podcast. We'll always ask, what's the most embarrassing moment of your life?
Funnier the better.
Yeah. There's not been that many, to be fair, on that. I've not been that bad. I think it sounds bad, this, and I shouldn't say it. Isle of Man, when I won it the first time, getting it took off me on stage. Because I got it took off me. That was embarrassing. Yeah, the first time, I say I won Isle of Man twice, but in the records it'd be once.
Right.
Yeah, the Isle of Man, I won it with Honda. The first time I'm saying I've won it, and I won it with over a minute. This is Formula One, and got the laurels, got on the rostrum, everything perfect, no problem. Then the night time come when you go down to the thing and get it on stage.
The Villa Marina at the
yes,
aye.
And they shouted me up for second spot, not the win. And I went up on stage and I was like, no, I've won it. And I was practically arguing like, no, I've won it. And that was quite embarrassing because you've got all the crowd there, No, you didn't.
How quiet was that crowd? I bet that was...
Oh, yeah. No, there was nothing happening.
Jesus.
Wow. This was that was embarrassing for me. And long story short, Graham Crosby, that was riding at that time, missed his slot on the start. It didn't start. So he had to go to the back of the grid. Yeah. In the rule book, it says if you miss the start, you go to the back of the grid, but you lose the time, what you've got. And they reckon that it beat me with 2 seconds only. I thought I was a minute ahead. So from after lap 1, I backed it off. And they says it beat me with 2 seconds because they're getting his time back. But in the rule book, it says no.
If you miss your gap, you're off at the back.
You lose the time. You lose the time where you should have set off. So I went in that race all the way through it, very slow as I can, trying to not break the bike, don't rev it, and won it as slow as I could. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And as I say, I did that, and even Honda thought they'd won it, because Honda protested mass about it. I don't know if you can remember when Honda painted all the bikes black in Isle of Man. Painted everything black.
And was that a protest at that?
A protest on that.
Was it?
Yes.
Right.
Because at one stage when they first heard about it, Japan phoned through to us, Honda Britain, the Honda team, and says, pull all your bikes out of the Isle of Man. We've finished. Not going there again. That was Honda. That was Honda Japan. Mm-hmm. And then the TT people must have phoned Japan up, because then they'd come to agreement that, okay, we'll protest. So then Honda Japan phoned us up and says, right, everything, black leathers, black bikes, black everything, just to say you're wrong, what you've done. And that's what we did. And there were me, Joey Dunlop and Alex George. We had to have leathers made that night, all in black. The bikes, all this beautiful colour bikes, black paint. Made them all black, everybody did. Yeah, because Honda was going to pull out completely.
How mad's that?
Yeah. And that was just purely that it was their fault. If
it's in black and white.
Yeah, it's in black and white in the book. And the worst bit of it is, you see, they says, well, you never protested. Honda, they never protested, because I think it's 30 minutes after the meeting. You've got 30 minutes to protest.
Well, then you're on the top of the step, screaming up and down with wood.
No, nobody told us. Nobody told us till the night that we come on stage and said, oh no, you haven't.
Oh.
It's a good job there wasn't Twitter then, imagine all that.
Yeah, and that was the big protest on that side.
Now, go on.
Do you reckon social media has ruined the sport in some ways? It's a random question.
Yeah. No, I think you get good and bad all around, don't you, on it? You know, so sometimes, yes, it doesn't help, you know, but then you get the other side where it does. So, no, I think now it's...
Yeah, fair enough.
You're always going to get it. You know,
of course,
it doesn't matter.
No, it's just interesting when he said Twitter. You're like, actually, you know, there are good and bad points of it all.
No, there is, yeah.
Just one last thing to finish up on from me. So, of all your sort of qualities and like what's like brought you through your life, what do you think's like your best quality as a person?
His hair.
Yeah,
That is a thick mop of hair, man.
Yeah, nah, we're lucky in this family. All his family's kept his hair, so that's good. You know,
you want to gene it, bottle it, sell it.
Yeah. So that's a big one. No, it's like I don't know. On that side, I think I've never been bothered about what the next man's got. You know, yes, I want to beat everybody or whatever. You know, and I always but I've never been like I won't say jealous as I've never been jealous as far as in a nasty sense. Jealous because I want to be that, whoever it is, you know. But I think one of that side of it, I've never been that way. If I haven't got something, then I have to work at it, or I've got to do something different, or it's not possible. You know, like me plane, fantastic. I never ever thought I'd be able to fly a plane. You know, like too high above me for that. You know, but now I'm doing it. So fantastic. Yeah.
Class. Have you got anything to finish up on?
No, I'm going to regret that the second I leave here because I was like, I should have asked that, should have asked this and everything. But like, thank you so much for having us.
No problem.
I've loved it.
Yeah, I've had a great time, and thanks very much for your time. Just a few quick things to finish up on. I don't know if anyone's seen, we've shared it on our social pages a few weeks ago, but our friend Michael Booth from 44 Teeth, who had a crash at the TT, he's gone through a real difficult time. So if you're listening, I hope you sending our best wishes, Boothie. And unfortunately, he's lost one of his legs in a crash at the TT, and there's a crowdfunding page being set up to help him through his difficult time. So if anyone does want to help him out, sort of share the link.
Definitely.
The other thing, we've got the Bennett's Track Day coming up 27th of July, and also I've been meaning to say this for a few weeks, but totally forgot. Lee Johnson's running a competition on his YouTube channel where you can win a bike. So if you just head over there, and he's restored it and they're giving it away, so you can enter that. And I think that's everything from my end. So in terms of racing wise, so this podcast will go out next week, so we'll have a Brands Hatch BSB coming up, and I'm just trying to think. I think this weekend is it will be the weekend of the World Superbikes.
That's what I say.
Leon's racing, isn't he?
This is the only time we'll see him, because now he's weekend. So it was good to see Leon today. There you go.
So all the best with all the racing that's coming up.
Thank you.
And massive thanks to our sponsors, Colchester Kawasaki, and to all of our patrons. And we'll look forward to catching up sometime soon.
Brilliant.
See you soon. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Chasin The Racin. Powered by Colchester Kawasaki, part of the Global Moto Group. We supply new Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, Royal Enfield, Kawasaki, Sim, Mutt and Benelli motorcycles.